Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Penny Wolfgang in for Phil Arno, who is on assignment. At The Big Picture, we try to take an in-depth look at some of the important issues of the day and also look behind the headlines and find out what the real story is. Very often, the big picture is not as simple as it appears. For instance, almost every day for quite a while now, we've heard and read stories about alleged abuses by members of the clergy and now Boy Scout leaders. In response to these alleged crimes, a new law was passed called the Child Victims Act, which is supposed to bring some opportunities for justice to the victims. But will it? What does the law really say? Will it actually provide all that the public hopes for? Speaking of new laws, we know you want to know the big picture on marijuana use, abuse, possession, legalization, or not. Today we're going to have a good conversation with the person responsible for prosecuting violators of these and all other laws in Erie County, District Attorney John Flynn. I know we're going to get new insight into these and perhaps some other legal issues that are in the headlines. So, welcome to The Big Picture, District Attorney Flynn.
Thanks, Judge. Appreciate it.
And thank you. Okay, do I have the right name? Child Victims Act?
Yes, you do. Yes, it's called the Child. Yes, CVA for short.
What? Yeah. All right, good. What does it mean? I know.
Well, sure. The Child Victims Act has two components to it, as you're aware. There's a criminal component to it, and there's a civil component. Obviously, I am not concerned about or have any jurisdiction over the civil component, but for the watchers out there, the essence of the civil component is that you have until you are 55 years old to bring a lawsuit, which could go well beyond the normal statute of limitations. In addition to that, starting in August, there's going to be a year look-back period. So for a year, from August of 2019 to August 2020, anyone can bring a case within that year, no matter how far back it is. So those are the two main features of the civil component of the Crime Victims Act. Obviously, the criminal aspect of it is my main concern. That's what I focus on. And in essence, what the Child Victims Act does is that it provides the victims with 5 additional years onto the already existing statute of limitations. So the old law said that you could bring a case until your 23rd birthday. This gives you 5 more years until your 28th birthday.
Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of proof issues, a lot of proof problems, and for you, for prosecution, because as we know, the older a case is, the further away it is from the time it happened. Witnesses' memories fade, they die, you get conflicting stories. It's going to be a problem for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. You're 100% correct in that the longer the prosecution from the actual date of the incident always creates issues. Sometimes you can overcome those issues, sometimes you can't. So we will just, take it on a case-by-case basis. I'm not, quite frankly, so sure that we're going to see a influx in cases anyway. I mean, the law has been in effect since Valentine's Day. So it's been in effect now for 3 months. Very unusual in Albany. Normally, once a bill passes, the governor signs the bill. It normally takes 9 months to a year sometimes to take effect. This one took effect immediately. So the governor signed the bill on Valentine's Day. It took effect on Valentine's Day, and quite frankly, we haven't had one new case yet. So I'm not so sure we're going to see any new cases anyway. The overwhelming evidence that I've seen regarding the clergy sex scandal occurred 20, 30 years ago. And these victims are now in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, which again is going to be too late to bring a criminal action.
And another thing about the criminal action is you need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a lot different than a civil
Yes.
case, as we know.
Certainly.
And in those days when these occurred, they probably weren't as aware of going to getting medical proof or psychological proof or all that, anything that would be required, or corroboration of any kind.
Correct. Again, yes, it's going to present challenges, no doubt about it. It's going to create a lot of legal issues. However, I want the viewers to realize that if you do have a case and you are a victim and it is within the statute of limitations, I will aggressively prosecute it. Obviously, if I ethically and morally don't think that I can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, then I'm not going to do it because that would be just ethically wrong to do. But if I have enough evidence, I will aggressively prosecute these cases.
And what do you think it's going to mean for the Diocese of Buffalo and the Boy Scouts and others accused of these crimes right here in our own community?
Well, it's going to obviously create some issues once the civil law takes effect in August, and there's going to be a lot of new civil lawsuits that are going to come about of it because of this, and obviously, the Boy Scouts and the Catholic Church and other institutions are going to have to deal with that from a financial standpoint.
You know why the diocese fought this for so long, only to, No,
well,
ultimately...
I think that, my personal opinion is that they had the mentality of policing their own. And I say that coming from serving 28 years in the military, where we in the military, we have our own criminal justice system. We have the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and we have court martials. And the military is an institution where we do police our own. And I think the Catholic Church had that same mentality. The problem is that the Catholic Church doesn't have under federal law their own court system. They don't have their own...
You mean like the military?
Like the military, that's
yeah,
correct.
right.
They don't have their own internal mechanism to administer justice. Mm-hmm. And so while they wanted to police their own, they legally didn't have the mechanism to do that. And that is their main fault.
That was the problem. Yeah. I'm glad we're talking about this for two reasons. People, I don't think, realize the difference between very often criminal and civil prosecutions. Sure, yeah. And when you're saying I only have jurisdiction, obviously, and it's the civil that people are going to be, like you said, hundreds of cases trying to get monetary. And there's nothing you can do about that. Correct, the district attorney cannot do anything.
No, I have no jurisdiction over those all. I do know that there's been a lot of confusion out there, and the main confusion is the difference in the ages that the law set forth.
Yes.
55 for civil and 28 for criminal. So people got to remember that the civil aspect has a much longer window in order to bring a case than the criminal does. Yeah,
I think the statute of limitations and all of that is confusing to people, yes. And they're going to have to, see a lawyer and see how it plays out. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the marijuana laws, because there's a lot to say, and a lot of people have been really concerned about how they're going to operate and how they're going to affect ordinary people. And I think if you can explain what the proposed law is, it's not a blanket. It's not going to be a blanket. Have as much as you want, take as much as you want, smoke as much as you want. No, right?
No. Regarding the particulars of the new law, I don't know right now, because quite frankly, it's changing every day. They are literally writing this law and adding amendments to it and making changes to it every day. So. Who knows at the end of the day? Well, one, who knows if it's going to pass?
Or what?
And then two, if it does pass, what it's going to say. I do know that there's a consistent theme that only a small amount, personal use marijuana, is going to be legalized. Now, What that small amount personal use is going to be, is debated, all right? So I don't know whether it's going to be a couple grams, 10 grams, who knows what that final number is going to be. But from a layman's standpoint, it's just going to be a small, baggy, personal use marijuana that will be legalized. So if you have pounds and pounds in the back of your car in your trunk, that's not legal, all right?
I know. I kind of laughed when I read you said that in one of the interviews. If you have 40 pounds of pot in the back of your car, I think it might still be a crime.
It is.
It's still gonna, you're still going to be in a lot of trouble, right?
Yeah. Correct.
There's a whole lot of difference legally, which you'll probably explain a little bit, between possession, use, selling, as far as people are going to think, is this going to be like a blanket, pot is fine, marijuana is fine, do whatever, or as you said, no, you can't have 40 pounds in there.
There is
in your car.
Yeah, exactly. The New York State penal law differentiates between three main categories. It's got possession and or use. It's got possession with intent to sell, and then it's got sale. So obviously, selling marijuana is going to be illegal, except obviously stores that are going to get licenses to sell, they're fine. But for the drug dealer on the corner, all right, it's still illegal for him or her to sell. It's going to be illegal still to have possession, large amounts that shows an intent to sell. So that is still going to be illegal as well. And then it's also still going to be illegal to just possess it if it's above whatever they quantify as quote unquote personal use. So the only aspect of this that is going to be legal, and again, it's still debatable whether it's going to get passed this year. Right. The only aspect that's going to be legal is that small amount possession, personal use.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we're going to have more legal questions about what you and I were talking about before, about searches of cars and about the ramifications of the marijuana law, which it may pass or which it may not. But whatever, there's going to be some changes, and there have been some changes already. So when we come back, we have a few more legal questions for District Attorney Flynn, so please stay with us.